Welcome to Channel 24. Michael Sheitelman, political strategist and expert on international politics, is joining me now. Michael, good evening. Glad to see you again.
Good evening, Natalia. I'm glad to see you also.
So, kind of a big news. Former commander-in-chief and now Ukraine's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Valerii Zaluzhnyi, has publicly described tensions with President Zelensky during the war, including the beginning of full-scale invasion in 2022, involving the incidents of Ukraine Security Service at a wartime command location. Why do you think, Michael, he chose, Valerii Zaluzhnyi, to speak openly about everything right now?
Well, let's start from the history of this conflict between Zelensky and Zaluzhnyi. President Zelensky de facto sacked Zaluzhnyi from his position as a chief commander of Ukrainian army. It was 2 years ago, by the way. And obviously, President Zelensky knew that it is a very tough decision, and he knew that he will lose a lot of national support. And he really lost more than 10% of support in national polls at this day, in one day, really in one day, because Mr. Zaluzhnyi, General Zaluzhnyi, was the most popular person in the country. So I believe that this decision was made based on something, based on some bad decision of chief commander, not any other idea I could bring to this. And not only me, obviously not only me thinks like that. And in Ukraine, we knew that there was some dispute around the counterattack of Ukrainian army in 2023. And this dispute was who was not right, who was taken the bad decision, Mr. Zaluzhnyi or Mr. Zelensky or anybody else, for example, the chief of Pentagon or somebody else. So with dispute, we knew about that, we heard a lot of rumors about that, but nobody have spoken openly about that. So this is the first really open discourse. But also this time, this is not so open, because you mentioned the interview of General Zaluzhnyi to agency AP, but we never seen this interview as a printed text with the wording of correspondent and the wording of General Zaluzhnyi. It was like reported speech of General Zaluzhnyi. And this also means that somehow this interview was not exactly recorded interview. Maybe it is just the version, but it looks like realistic version. That this interview was not exactly interview, it was the conversation with the correspondent. Conversation, not off-record conversation, de facto. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, this off-record conversation was used as an interview. I don't say that Zaluzhnyi didn't say that what he said. Yeah, obviously he said that. I believe that in private conversations, he previously also said the same thing about who is guilty in the not successful counterattack in 2023. So let's say when we heard these facts which he brought, or his opinion, we were not surprised by this opinion. We were surprised only on why he said that openly now. So my answer, he did not say it openly, so openly. This is not recorded on video interview, first. And that is the first and most important, I believe. And second, obviously he is preparing to participate in the election, and during the election campaign, it will happen after war or during the war, I don't know, but if the candidates will be President Zelensky, current President Zelensky, who will be the candidate for the second term, and General Zaluzhnyi, so the discussion between these two personalities obviously will be about the war and about who was right in managing the war 2 years ago. Obviously, because what is another dispute between them? This is the most important dispute.
Do you think after the war, Zaluzhnyi has a lot of chances to become a president?
This is not my opinion. This is this is the polls, opinion polls. That is the most important tool of any political strategist, and for me, yeah. And in polls, we could see now, till now, that Zelensky and Zaluzhnyi were two leaders of opinion polls. There's candidates to presidency. If we will take, if we will look at opinion polls before Trump's era, so Biden times. So in Biden times, Zaluzhnyi was more popular than Zelensky. I mean, November 2024, Zaluzhnyi was a leader of this race to presidency. But after Trump became to be president and after conflict between Trump and Zelensky, Zelensky, he earned a new support from Ukrainian nation as a new hero. He has a war not only against Russians, but also against President of United States. Yeah, the daily war, against President of United States. So in current opinion polls, the obvious leader is Zelensky, but Zaluzhnyi is still on second place, and this is still undisputed second place. The third place, which owned by Mr. Budanov, currently chief of staff of President Zelensky, the gap is huge. Like Zelensky, for example, if it will be guess, I don't remember exact figures, but like 40% for Zelensky, 30 for Zaluzhnyi, and 7 for Budanov, let's say. So yes, Zaluzhnyi has a chances for being president, and at least he has a very, very good chance to be in the second round of president election.
Yeah, you're right, Michael. I'm like looking through this article again, and I don't know how much trust it deserves, because at the end of the interview, not the interview, the article, as you said, it's like a diplomat with the political intentions, question mark. And then it says that Zaluzhnyi hypothetically gonna gain in the future election 23% and Zelensky only 20%. That's according to their polls. I don't know whether from where they're getting those numbers.
We have a couple of polls from rating agency and KMIS agency, but KMIS, this is Kiev Institution of Sociology. I don't remember if they organized exactly poll about the presidency, but rating, yes, they organized the poll about presidency. This I remember. Yeah, and figures, they not like you mentioned now, but these figures is like the figures of 1 year ago, before a political war between Zelensky and Trump.
Before the political war. Well, how would you assess, Michael, right now the peace process? It was 2 days in Geneva. Any pluses, any breakthrough from your perspective?
It was not the complete 2 days. From formal point of view, it is 2 days, yeah. But first day, it was like afternoon tea, afternoon negotiation, with a funny reason of afternoon. Because the first half of the first day, Mr. Witkov and Mr. Kushner, they have another obligation about to organize peace between Iran and Israel. So really, our delegation, Ukrainian delegation and Russian delegation, they arrived to Geneva on the eve of the negotiation. So they were ready. But American delegation was very busy with another deal, another bigger fish to fry. They had Iran as the biggest fish on this table. And only afterwards, we were just the second in the queue, and this was the second negotiation. But the first day, at least, it was the full-scale negotiation, let's say. And all the difficult questions, they pushed it to the second day. We announced it. But at the second day, the negotiation, they took only 2 hours. 2 hours for the most important questions of territorial and nuclear power station and sovereignty and the guarantee of European armies, for example, the participation of European armies in guarantee forces, etc., etc. And when we say 2 hours, let's say only half of this is the real time, because you need translators between three delegations. You should translate from Ukrainian to Russian, English, etc. So 3 delegations, 1 hour of speech. It is 20 minutes per each delegation. So it looks like they immediately come to some deal breaker immediately, and they just stop this negotiation because they don't have they don't see any possibility to move forward. On the first day, most of the conversation was about how they call it now security questions. Security questions, it is not political. And security questions, they never bring you to the peace deal. Security question, for example, and Mr. Zelensky mentioned it after the first day, that delegations agreed, between Russians, Ukrainians, and Americans, agreed about American participants in observers' forces after the peace deal. Okay, but it is after the peace deal. And the second day was the discussion about peace deal itself. And obviously, delegations, they did not move forward, also 1 meter forward in this. And I don't see any move forward starting from 11 months ago. 11 months ago, it was the meeting in Saudi Arabia between Ukrainian and American delegation, and it was the only meeting when two sides moved forward and finished this negotiation with some common communique, with the common paper. And this paper was that Ukraine is ready to stop a war, to freeze a war on the current front line. It was a move forward from the previous Ukrainian position, when previous Ukrainian position was we are ready to stop war only after total withdrawal of all Russian forces from all Ukrainian territories. And the news was that Americans persuaded Ukrainians to stop war on the current front line. But from this day, which was in March 2025, we never heard any news about peace deal. That's a reality.
On the 17th of February, Zelensky told to the journalists that about this frozen front line, that probably it's going to be the question of decided on Ukrainian referendum. And then I had the interview with the former Estonian president, Kersti Kaljulaid, where she told me that, look, no matter what you're going to vote, for what decision you're going to vote, I don't see any signs that Moscow will consider any decision other than just, complete giving up of your land to Russia. What do you think? Why do we need any referendum? Because Zelensky is not only first time he's talking about that, and it seems like we're approaching to that moment.
No, we are not approaching.
Not approaching.
And I'm absolutely agree with Estonian politician, yes. And when Zelensky said that, what he meant that after the sides come to this decision, to the peace deal, to the compromise, so this compromise should be approved by Ukrainian nation. Not the theoretical possibility of the compromise, but the practical. When we have a paper on the table, which is signed by, let's say, Russian president and Ukrainian president. So after this, Zelensky said, we need also approval from the Ukrainian nation. Why in this case we need this approval? Because the status of Zelensky is he had a first term, 5 years, and afterwards he has the extra years of presidency during the war. And on this point, let's say war stopped, and the war stopped, we need to ask a Ukrainian nation if we are ready to approve this agreement. That was, and all the, speculations about, for example, like in Financial Times, that on the anniversary, fourth anniversary, next week, on February 24, President Zelensky will be proclaim the new election or new referendum. This is only speculation. By the way, President Zelensky also said that this is the first time he hears about that. He hears about that. The referendum, it means let's say the timetable of this is first the agreement which was signed by two presidents, and afterwards, for example, on Russian side, we also President Putin couldn't take this decision alone. He need approval of, I don't know, by the Russian constitution, it should be approval of parliament or it should be approval of Security Council, maybe. When he started the war, he had a approval of Security Council of Russian Federation. So from Russian side, it will be approval or parliament or Security Council. So from Ukrainian side, it will be approval of total people referendum, popular vote, and not parliament vote. This is the only difference, which was explained by President Zelensky.
Mm-hmm. Well, makes sense, but no elections as well in the visible future.
No elections as well, because also again, as President Zelensky mentioned, on this negotiation stage in Geneva, a Russian delegation, they offered us 1 day peace. How to say it? I don't know how to call that. 1 day peace, one-way ticket. Yeah, ceasefire for 1 day for election day. Yeah, but it means that they ask us to cancel our democracy. Democracy is not the election. Election is not democracy. Democracy consists of a lot of different things, like, for example, freedom of speech, freedom of pre-election events, parties, political parties, participation in the political campaign, yeah, and including advertisement on TV, radio, on billboards, etc. So by Ukrainian constitution, 60 days is the minimal pre-election period. And before that, candidates, they should get their candidacy to the committee. For example, in our last president election, there were 44 candidates. Each one of them organized their fundraising, and because only from this fund they could pay for the getting their candidacy. It is about $80,000 to participate in presidential election. Costs about $80,000. Official payment, it is in hryvnia, obviously in local currency, but you pay it officially, and you can't pay it from your pocket. You should pay it from your supporters. Your supporters should give you each one $100, let's say. It means you have 800 supporters, and with $80,000 you pay for participation. Because when you participate, it costs money to the state, because they give you for free some airtime on TV, on state TV, state radio, and some in other places. I don't remember exactly now the rules. And the state publish your program officially, etc., etc. So this is very, very big process, and we are not ready in Ukraine to organize faked election like in Russia. In Russia, we don't have any real election. We just proclaim that Putin received, for example, last time he collected 89% of popular vote. But we don't need to count that. We don't care about that. We don't have any election campaign, for example, debates. We didn't have in Russia any debates. President Putin won elections, from formal point of view, I mean, 5 times in Russian Federation. But how many times he participated in presidential debates? Zero. Never. He never participated in presidential debates. Just like, I don't know how to call it. This is just a theater, not the real election in Russian Federation. And Ukraine is not ready to organize fake election, only the real one. So Ukraine asked from President Trump to stop a war for 60 days. And after 60 days, we are ready to organize the election. It will be the real election with real candidates. And most of candidates, by the way, will be current military personnel. Because if we check the opinion polls about political parties, for example, so uh, most of voters were ready to vote for current military guys or girls. So who participated in war could be the member of parliament. Who did not participate in war couldn't be a member of parliament. This is the most of population think like that. To participate doesn't mean exactly to be a soldier, but it could be volunteer, for example, or the doctor who work in hospital, etc., etc. But the nation ready to vote for the people who defends the country during this war.
Yeah, I think Russia is doing that deliberately and on purpose, knowing that it's so complicated. Okay, we can do that only after Russia. We can do elections after them.
After them, yeah. By the way, this is the good idea by Foreign Ministry of Russian Federation, but we should do it vice versa. They offered to United Nations to take a rule on Ukraine during the election period. But the good idea was to make it with Russia, because in Russia they don't have any legitimate parliament or legitimate president, by the way. The European Union, for example, never recognized Putin as an elected president. They recognized Putin as the efficient controller of Russian territory, but not legitimate president. I mean his last term, not his previous terms, obviously. So it is the good idea to United Nations to take a control on Russian election, to bring all the real candidates, including obviously the Russian politician who in exile in United States or in European Union now. And for example, in European Parliament, how they call it, PASE, Parliament Assembly of European Parliament, something like that. They have a special Russian platform for Russian politicians in exile. And Russia represented by 15 politicians like that. We could mention Mikhail Khodorkovsky, for example, who spent 10 years in Russian jail, and Vladimir Kara-Murza, who spent 2 years in Russian jail. They are participants of this platform. And also Nadezhda Tolokonnikova from Pussy Riot musical group, who also spent 2 years in Russian jail, and afterwards he met with American president after she was released. And we also could mention Garry Kasparov, the best chess player in the history and the 13th world champion in chess, and another politicians, and their representatives, Russian opposition now in Europe. So I believe that half of them are ready to participate in president election in Russian Federation. At least we heard it from Khodorkovsky, we heard it from Kara-Murza, we heard it from Kasparov, and I believe that couple of another people from this list also will participate in this election, if this election will be free and will be accountable and will be transparent.
Yes. Michael, the final one, the tensions is rising around Iran. Again, it's not the first time tensions around Iran. And President Trump has described talks with Iran as positive. And also, he suggested that the U.S. may take actions within 10 days. How should we interpret this messaging as real preparation for military actions?
It is very easy, by the way, very easy to interpretation, because we have a precedent from just a half a year ago. About half a year ago, President Trump said that he gives to Iran 2 weeks to sign the peace agreement. And And he gave the command to bomb Iran in 2 days after this declaration. So I believe then on Saturday we will have a war between the United States and Iran. Let's check it next week.
You mean by Saturday next week or this one?
This one. We will check on our next meeting. We will discuss if I was right or not.
Well, Michael, that's quite an interesting, ironically saying, beginning of the 2026. I don't know what to say, but okay, Michael, we have unpacked a lot today. Thank you so much for that, and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.